Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm always amazed anytime I connect with, see, meet a psychic medium. I totally believe it that they can pull messages from the other side, have insight, even people who pull cards. How do you know how to pick the right one? I've been faced with it. It's a big question. We're gonna talk with a psychic medium, and specifically a medium because she has insight on everything, including those from the other side. And she's back with us. Leah DiNapoli is on the program. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you, Steve. How are you doing?
Well. And this is one of those things that you want to go. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I have a coworker. I work with him, sort of like indirect way, but we talk like at least twice a week, and he knows that I'm connected to mediums, and he asked me, he how does he put it? The palm reader. Like he doesn't know how to describe it. He knows what he's saying, but that's how he describes it.
Yep.
And I gave him your name. I just remembered that in a text.
Thank you.
It was like Thursday or Friday. But yeah, and that's a perfect example. Like he doesn't know. How do you know? That's a referral.
Thank you.
Which is good.
Appreciate that. Yes.
Probably the best. Augustine is the name, by the way. That's probably the best way to find a medium. But if you're not sure, what are some of the things that you should be looking out for?
Well, like you said, referral is the best way. And even though I do some marketing and Googling and all kinds of things, the best mediums are word of mouth. Just because people trust you and your integrity. So you want to look for someone that you connect with. And that if that involves calling a few people and seeing if you vibe together, right? Everything is energy and we vibe together, and see if that works out first. I like to, unfortunately or fortunately, I really like to get to know my clients, not their story actually, but we do a lot of texting to start with. Some have a lot of questions and some don't. But my biggest thing is I tell people, they'll say, do you believe in God? Are you a fortune teller? Are you going to tell me to leave my job or my husband, or am I not? And honestly, I would never do any of those things. I can give you more information about that scenario, but I would never tell you what to do. So that's one thing. You don't want someone telling you, yes, you need to do this. No, you don't need to do that. Or, oh, yes, I can see in the cards that you're going to have a horrible thing happen in a week. And you can come see me for the next 4 weeks and pay me X amount of dollars. So any of that stuff, run the other way. So you can vet your medium, and you should be able to talk to them or email them and ask them any kind of questions, especially when it's dealing with messages from across the veil, because you want someone who has your heart and your minds first, and gives you the space in order to connect with their loved ones, not someone who's going to just take you for your money or give you horrible advice that you wouldn't listen to anyway, right? So 100%. It's all about being truthful. Yeah.
And I see what you're saying there in terms of you like to get to know them. You don't want to hear anything because
No.
But
no.
The exchange of energy, even in just a conversation, even if it's a texting conversation, because energy can be transferred in all different ways, right?
Correct.
But it's almost just a dialogue. So how you doing? What are you looking for? Not specifically, whatever, just a conversation.
Correct.
They don't have to give up anything. Most mediums I know say, don't tell me anything.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah. But I do want to know about them. So sometimes they'll call and say, I have lost somebody, and I say, don't tell me who, and, can you connect with them? And I'll say, well, I can connect with them if they want to come through. I don't control the spirit world. They control what they want to say and what they want to do. It's just my job to be the messenger.
Sure.
and to bring the best information I could bring forward for them to allow some healing and to allow some closure. I can give you a really good example of that if you'd really like to hear an amazing reading I had a few months
I'd
ago.
love it. And before we even get there, I want to tell everybody you pulled a card for me before we got on today,
I did.
and it was spot on. And I didn't tell you anything. I revealed afterwards, but it talked about making a decision, and this card could have come up 2 months ago. It could have come up, 6 months ago in my situation. But the time is now that you said it. And it's kind of a pinnacle time in the next, from literally, I'm not even kidding, from, next couple of days on, decision to be made. And that's basically what you said. You're in a fork in the road and you need to make a decision. And that's it. So I just wanted to share that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And for those, I just want to be clear here. Yeah, you could have pulled the same card 6 months ago, and it would have some relevance. The fact that you pulled it now has the most relevance. I mean, the most in the situation. So just wanted people to know that, because I know there's lots of skeptics. Well, I just got to pull that card, another time. No, it's now. There's a reason you pulled it now, because I need to make a decision, and it's a big one. Okay, so I digress. Tell us your story.
Okay. Well, yeah, the cards will tell you every day. So even if people are out there and they want to read their own cards, they can get a set themselves. And I do teach online, but they don't even need me to really learn. If you pulled a card for the day, everyone has their intuition, right? Get up, pull your card, kind of see what it feels like to you. And I guarantee by the end of the day, something about that card will hit directly on that day.
When you say pull a card, do you mean us individually can pull a card?
Sure. Sure, why not? You really don't need me. Like we talked about this. Everyone has their own intuition and their own gifts. And I love my job. I love doing this for people, and I love helping people heal. But you can concentrate on your deck of cards. You have your own energy, and you put your energy into those cards and pull one. And then like all you have to do is kind of intuitively feel what it feels like. And yes, sometimes it's hard to do for yourself. And it's easier to do for someone else because you judge your own intuitiveness. And is it my imagination or is this real? But if you do it enough, you'll see that you have, even if you write them down, okay, I feel like this card is telling me this, this, and this. And at the end of the day, you can go back and look at what happened and say, oh my gosh, this happened today. And, this card was right on. So you can kind of open up your own intuition. People could be doing that every day with everything. It's so fun too, I have to tell you. One day, I had 2 decks one day, and this is really cool. I had a brand new deck of tarot cards, and I had a brand new deck of Oracle, 2 brand new decks of tarot cards. And for the heck of it, I thought, let me just pull cards. I'll pull 1 card for my husband and 1 card for myself. And so one day, every card, now they're both decks were shuffled separately, put on my table, put a piece of paper and a pen next to it so I could write them down. And I would concentrate on my husband, pull a card, concentrate on me, pull a card. I was getting the same cards. Okay. And the one day I got the world card on one deck and the world card on the other, except my card was his card was upside down, correct? So the world card is all about, getting to the top of the mountain and looking out and going, wow, look what I did, or having just the most amazing day. Everything's pulling together for me today, right? I have the world at my feet. My husband's card was upside down. And I have to say, I had the most amazing day that day. He got the same card upside down and learned a really tragic thing about his friend's son. So his entire world was turned upside down that day particular. And so that's just an example. And
I want to get to your story, and I didn't mean to,
no, that's okay.
Turn the car, but I never even thought of that. And it's funny, over the weekend, I have a friend, colleague, he works in radio. He's actually a DJ on the air. He's very different. Like he's a real like, hey, how you doing? Hey, 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 hey.
I have
And
a lot of those.
that's how he talks. And he pulls cards. So he put on a Facebook post over the weekend. He's like, "Hey, I'm pulling cards. Let me know if you want to pull a card for you." And I don't think it's bunk, but it's like, hey, whatever. But hearing you now, there's more validity to it. And that said, if somebody wanted to, like, I'll be on Amazon as soon as we get off here. Tarot card, Oracle. I hear tarot can be a little darker and hard to interpret.
Not darker, not darker. Just different. It's an old, it's from the 1800s. It was a card game in the 1800s, right? And people aren't really sure, even though everyone says they know where it originated. If you go back far enough, nobody really kind of knows exactly. There's people that say from the Egyptians, from the pyramids, and others who say from the 1800s it was a card game given to only people who were of
royalty,
rich and royalty. Yeah. So they have a really cool history, and they are fun actually. But pick out your deck that talks to you. And
how do you interpret? Because a lot of
intuition.
Okay, but when you pull, let's say it's a tarot card, pull a card out, and it's the Cup of Swords. All right, what the hell is that?
No, I got a couple of So tarot is different in the fact that tarot can be read, any tarot deck can be read systematically in a way of, it's a 78 card deck. There's 21 major arcana, 50, I can't even think of how many minor arcana, right? I'm not even doing the math this morning. And each card has a specific meaning. And so tarot readers can read a card. I can pull a tarot card and have my intuition and read it. And then someone else can do the same card and have a little bit of a different twist on it. So what it comes down to is the card itself has a meaning, and then you have your intuition about that. So like when I read your card last week and the gentleman had a rose in his hand, right? It kind of brought my attention to the rose. At times when I read that card, I never see the rose, right? It's where your attention goes. And so you have to get out of your left brain about thinking, and you have to just pull the card and say, what first comes to my mind? Oh, I see the rose. I see the dog. I see the this. Oh, what about that? And your mind and your intuition will bring you on that whole gamut. Just write it down. Everybody can do it.
Would it be easier to do oracle cards? I understand that they could be easier to understand.
Yes. So a good explanation of oracle cards is oracle cards can give you the outside meaning of something. So if I have a cut, right, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on my cut. That's an oracle card. It's a good analogy, right? If I have a really deep cut, I'm going to use stitches. That's the tarot card. So the tarot is a little bit deeper than the oracle cards. We can go into a little bit more of a story. So say your card was fork in the road, right? A choice, right? So I didn't really know a choice. It kind of had an intuition, intuitive knowing about what it was, but I wasn't on. I can dig a little bit deeper with the tarot and kind of go down the path of what might happen or the better way to go. But again, I would never tell you what to do.
So for a beginner, would it be better to start with Oracle? And if you go tarot, I know there's, a lot of them come with a little booklet and you go through it. What does a Cup of Swords mean?
Yeah.
Or,
you know what I do with the booklet?
I don't have time for that. I
don't have time for the booklet, and I don't have time to put 700 meanings to one thing.
Yes.
Sorry, no attention span for that either.
I'm the same exact way, and I believe in all of this. But even when it comes to astrology, it's everything is spot on.
Boggles my mind.
However, when we get to the 8th house of the 7th Psalm, I'm like,
just
tell me what I need to know. I just can't. It even frustrates me that I can't, because I believe in it. all of this, but that's
Me
why
too,
there's,
but I can't deal with it.
but that's why there's people that do what you do.
Right.
Same with astrologers. So I'm going to start with a tarot deck. Is there one that you would suggest that,
Whatever one calls to you. There's everything on the market, right? So you find one that looks good. So the Rider White deck is one of the oldest ones. And you can find that on Amazon for like $10.
what's it? It's, I've heard of that.
Called the Rider, I think it's RYDER, weight, like dash weight, WAITE. And it's just the people who have done the illustrations and
Okay. Yeah.
the meanings. And I'm happy to teach you. So anytime you would like to, I can teach you the meanings of the cards, and then you can intuit them yourself.
Are you talking tarot or oracle?
Tarot. Oh, both. So
Oh,
oracle cards are kind of easy for anyone, right?
that's
I
my
have a
point.
great oracle deck, and some of them will say something right on the front, right? Or they'll give you a picture, and if the picture is so obvious, it's like, oh, okay, that means that, So why don't you buy one of each?
Yeah. I mean, again, minimal investment, think of it at first as fun, but
It
there's,
is fun, but put some validity to it, right? It's your intention. So my
yeah,
intention before I speak to you online is think about you, and I pull your energy into the cards. And of course, I wouldn't even tell you the card unless you ask me. So I always ask permission. So it's really not good. So say you have something going on with a friend or whatever, and you want to pull the cards to kind of see where they're at, and you kind of get an intuition, right, about what's going on. You don't want to call them and tell them those cards unless they ask you, or you can say, I
sure.
pulled a card for you, because you're kind of intruding on their own space.
Totally. It's almost like getting a call from a cold call from a
A
salesperson.
medium and saying,
Like,
I have so and so, right?
right.
You don't want to do that.
Like, yeah, I didn't ask for that. So to back up
Mhm.
the process in finding a medium and how this all works and how there's accuracy involved, you had a situation you wanted to share, right?
I did. I had an entire family come to me a few months back, which consisted of the mom and three sisters and an aunt, right, of the person who had passed. And all I was told was that they were all going to come, and they wanted to have a reading of the mom wanted a reading of the son that had passed 22 years earlier, right? And I was said, okay. So they all came, and we started going through the reading. And as we progressed, they were asking me questions of, well, who was in the car with this spirit so they had told me he had passed in an accident, right? But I didn't know what kind of accident. And what I did see as we went along was really disturbing. And so, I had asked them, had their person in spirit had their life taken from them? So had someone else taken their life? They said yes. So I said, this was not in an accident, then this was not in a car accident. This had been done to this person. And they said yes. So what evolved in the reading, and I'm going to back up just a little bit, was the fact that when this person was killed, murdered, he was murdered in another state, and his family up here was told that he had been in a car, and that someone showed up as he pulled over with his family, and he was shot and killed. And that was that. And so they never had any. So that was the background that I didn't know. Right. So he was basically pulled his car over in a parking lot. They were told that somebody came up to the car, shot this gentleman. He passed. His child was in the car. There was another woman in the car, and they hadn't told me any of who was in the car at this point. But I didn't get that. And so what evolved was, when this person's body was brought back up to Connecticut, they were told he was shot, and even the police said he was shot, right? And then when I was doing the reading, they kept asking me questions, but, well, who was in the car? Who was there? What were they doing? Do you see the gun? So I saw him about to be attacked, and not to divulge too much information. They said, do you see the gun? Do you know what kind of gun it is? And Steve, I did not see a gun. And so in my own integrity and in my own ego, God forbid, what I was trying to do was pull the gun in my mind. Like, let me find the gun. They just wanted to know who did this. Had I seen the gun? And I finally looked at them and said, look, I don't see a gun. I'm sorry. I said, but what I do see and what I do feel is that he got jumped from behind and he was stabbed in the neck. He was not shot. And the mother almost fell off the chair, because this poor woman saw his body later, and like, he had a big gash in his neck, and they told her that he had gotten shot. It was bogus.
But why were the police saying they would know?
Well, this is what I didn't understand. And so I was able to put people in the car that they thought were in the car, people who saw this happen. And I was also able to confirm that he had been jumped by a group of people and been stabbed. What had transpired was the person who, and the people who had surrounded his car. So it had to do with an ex-wife who was down where he drove. I don't want to give out the state because I know that this is a sensitive issue, right? His ex-wife had something to do with it. His new wife was in the car. This gentleman had just been drafted into pro football, right? He went down there. He was supposed to pick up a child or drop a child off. And the people that surrounded him kind of ganged up on him, ended up murdering him. And who they thought took his life was someone of a high nature who was connected to the mayor of that state and a few of the policemen, and it was covered up. And this is what they had thought from the beginning. And of course, I didn't know any of that at all going into this reading. But this spirit was so adamant on what he was showing me and everything he showed me. And the mom said, I knew it, and of course the statute of limitations had gone out, but it was so clear to me what happened. And what they really wanted to know was if the other female in the car knew the person who had taken his life, like she had set him up, right? There was some convoluted thing behind it. And the spirit would not answer me. And I just could not. And I said to them, I believe that your son in spirit is not going to tell us, because it was an adamant, like, no, because he's still protecting her. And they all said, oh my gosh, you're right. He loved her so much. So even if there was some involvement, he wasn't going to bring that forward. And so
this is you reading,
not knowing anything.
Not knowing anything. That's my point. Yeah.
No. It was amazing. It was, I don't want to say amazing because it's tragic. Obviously this poor gentleman had his life taken away tragically, and it was covered up.
You said statute of limitations. So this is some time ago.
Yeah. So I think late 70s, I believe, early 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
And they didn't want to, they didn't want to, tell me who it was. Obviously, I didn't want to know. So it was something I was able to kind of look up later. But the tell-all was the gun, and they were very adamant on, please tell us if you see the gun. Like I said, my own ego wanted to just, because the reading was going so well and wonderful and healing for everyone, I just wanted to bring this through and be able to tell them, look, it was this person. It was even a racial issue. There was a lot of racial stuff going on in that reading. It was
wow.
I'm glad I didn't see that. And
And going into it, you had no idea what you were walking into.
no,
And the reason I'm bringing that up is you just said, after it, you looked it up because you wanted to get a little more insight
yeah.
on maybe who this football player was, and on and
Mhm.
on and on. But going into the reading, you had no
Oh,
idea.
no, I just had, I just knew the mom lost someone in her family, right? And that she wanted to bring her other siblings with her so everyone could get some closure. And that's all I knew. And so when I brought him in, the reading evolved into this whole scene. And the actually his daughter was there, because I even said he has a daughter, and she's like, yeah, I'm right here. Of course, now she's older. And I was seeing her as a young child because that's what the spirit remembered her as, right? It was really interesting, but
Wow.
I can't stress enough about mediums, and I really don't know. I haven't come across maybe one or two that haven't been truthful. So most out there are very truthful, and they take their work like I do. It's a sacred thing, and you don't mess with it. I don't mess with it.
There's there's never any guarantee that a medium is going to pull information that you want.
No,
It's just the way it
never.
is. And I'm not saying that to release a medium or anything like that, but
Nope.
again, worked with many. I'm skeptical. I always, I don't always try to, but I'm like, I'll punch a hole in it if I can. I will.
Yeah,
I'm
trust me.
wired that way. I am
And I just
logical,
tell you,
fact.
I'll punch a hole in it if I can as well. And I did for years. I was the biggest skeptic. And some of my friends are saying, I can't even believe you've allowed yourself to get this far, because when things would happen to you, you'd say, oh, it's baloney. Oh,
Yeah,
like I need
yeah.
the facts too. Give me
Me
the
too.
facts.
Yeah,
Sorry.
100%. And I
Mm.
think that when you find a medium, um, you'll know. Like there are, you might have one that looks at an Italian family. It says, yeah, I'm getting a T name. Definitely an A name. Could be a T. All right, Anthony or Tony. I mean, come on. You probably got an Italian. You know what? If you look Italian, it's probably,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah. But when it's that real specific stuff that comes up that you can't even, and like you, I could go back in my mind and just think of things that was told to me by mediums, and it's like there's no blanket way you would even know that. And
Correct.
it is very specific. Granted, there's been times where I had to think about it, like I don't really, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Like
Hmm.
I know we're almost out of time. I once had a medium say, yeah, your dad's coming through, chocolate shake. What's it with the chocolate shake? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have a clue. That
Chocolate
happens too,
shake.
right?
Yes, and but then I thought about it and like, oh, my parents got divorced when I was very young. My dad would come to see me and my sister, and back in the day, there was a cup that you would add milk, and everything was in the cup, and you'd shake it up. And I think I might have been 3 or 4,
Yeah, that's what
but it
he
was
remembers.
the
Beautiful.
chocolate shake, and that's what I would look forward to. Oh, cool!
Right.
He brought it again. I see the cup; it was a dark brown cup. But at that moment, I didn't get it. But when I did, there's no way you're going to pull that out. I'm not looking
No.
for it. That's very, very specific.
Right. And
Uh,
those are the things you look for. So, like, a lot of things can be cliche, right? And
yeah,
even there's times I
Tony.
say, oh, but I know I had someone the other day who was Spanish, and I said, oh, I have abuelo. I'm getting the word abuelo. I had no idea abuelo or abuela was his grandparents, but I felt like they were grandparents, right? So I didn't know, but that sounds cliche. Am I, even the medium questions herself or his self as well. We
Mhm.
all do it, right? So is that in my mind, or am I searching, or just trying to bring something in, right? If I don't get it, they don't get it. And so it's like you give what you get. And it's up to the person like you to be able to say, oh, that chocolate shake. But a lot of times I'll bring something in, right? I said to a woman the other day, I said, so your husband's showing me your closet. Have you been going through his closet trying to get rid of some of the things? And she said, yes. So I said, yeah, I feel like he was in there with you. And I also want to tell you that there's a box of envelopes, and some of them aren't stuck. So I don't know if they're letters or something you're looking for, but it's in the top of the closet on a shelf somewhere. She said, absolutely not. It's not there. I've been through the closet 6 times. And I said, okay, well, I'm telling you, it's there. It might not be in that closet in your bedroom. It could be in the house somewhere, but he is making me aware of this box and that it's important. And so I could have took her no as a no, right? Okay. And some things are no, right? Some things, just like you, I don't know about the chocolate shake, but you recognize that a week later, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was a skeptic, didn't believe in me. Her daughter had to bring her to see me, everything. He texted me 3 days later and said, I'd like another appointment. And by the way, I found the box of envelopes up top in the closet, pushed in the back. So those are the things that the medium themselves has to trust. Spirit is giving me it for a reason. I don't know why it's here. Sometimes maybe it's in my mind, but you might find out a week later, oh, I said the name, M for Millie. Millie's keeps coming in and you're like adamantly, nope. And sometimes, if I'm kind of low, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even, I'm not connecting well or whatever. I just have to let that go and go on to something else because I'm not, or the sitter, you, right, is not making the connection either.
And a lot of these things, we're out of time, like way over time.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I don't. A lot of these things are so clear in your subconscious.
Oh.
But our subconscious, we're only 95% conscious. Our subconscious is running everything. So you really got to tap into that to see those things.
Got to take your brain out of it.
Yes. Yeah. I call it psychic amnesia. You just for that moment. How do we find you if somebody wants to talk with you, see if it's a right fit?
Oh, so you can text me directly if you'd like to make an appointment or talk to me and ask questions. It's 203-623-8144. Or you can go right to my website. It's Medium Leah. You can see behind me.
Okay.
It's Medium, Leah.com. And I also, just want to tell you, Steve, so I have a new YouTube channel. It's Medium Leah, and I'm putting these broadcasts on there as well. So people can, if they want to go back and listen or learn new things, there'll be a lot of information on there.
Love it. And this is how somebody can feel even more comfortable with you by seeing us talking. Like before I go to a doctor, I always try and find pictures of them.
Right? Don't you want to? Well, you're feeling the vibe. See, I just want to get like a feel for that person.
Exactly. Yeah. Leah, always great talking with you. And I appreciate
you. Thank you so much.
Look forward next time we talk.
Me too. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.